Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for another movie review, 2025's The Monkey. Now, this is based on a Stephen King short produced by James Wan, and it was directed by Oz Perkins. The background of it, you got two twin brothers, and for some strange reason, they wind up with this weird and evil looking monkey, toy wind up monkey. And then from that point, a series of terrible deaths befall their whole entire family and anyone that's close to them. Years later, it has not stopped, and the killing is just continuing to move. So, this is going to be our non spoiler review of The Monkey. I have here the host of the most, Jorge. What's going on, dude?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Man, what you got me watching, man?
No, this was definitely a fun one. I think this kind of falls in a very unique category where I wouldn't put this as your typical horror movie. I see this a lot more as like your fun like slasher film. And I think we really haven't had anything like that in a while, where you just have a quick, because even the runtime of this was like an hour and a half, I think. Like it was,
Yeah, it was really tight. It was.
yeah,
It had to
it
been
was
like. Yeah.
in and out. And the only thing that I can compare this to, like just thinking, since we've left the theater, the kills that you see in this movie are phenomenal. Like they're stuff you just won't see. And the only thing I can compare it to is like when we saw Sishu, where you see these random Nazi killings, and you don't go to these movies to get a wonderful storyline or magnificent acting. Like they're not gonna win the Oscar and anything that they're doing. Like you go here just to have fun, like unplug and have fun and see some really neat things. And I
Mhm.
think for me, this checked off those boxes, which is probably why I enjoyed it maybe a little bit more than I should have. But it was fun. Like this is just a fun film, and I think when you look at the characters like Theo James, who plays the main characters, um, he does a great job at it. Like, and even seeing the dynamics between both the twin brothers, it's actually like it was really neat and cool. Um, and then you get fun little random like peekaboos, and like when we were seeing it, like Elijah Wood is in this movie, and you would have never expected it at the end of the day, because
So randomly placed in this film.
yeah, like you get a little glimpse of him before he actually shows out, and you're watching and you're like, wait, is that a light? And then within the next scene, like you're seeing him. So from that aspect, kind of cool and really neat. But no, I think I really enjoyed it, and I think it's neat because this year I think we have a new Final Destinations also coming out. So it's almost like this fun little niche of horror movies are making like a comeback, because this isn't as serious as like The Conjuring, which is coming out, or Insidious, or that genre of movie. Like in a weird way, this is the more like playful side of it, like the more comedic. Like the more you're watching some of these people die, like you're literally scratching your head, like what could possibly happen next, you know? But yeah, no, this was neat, and it does break into a weird genre of like generational like curses that you really don't see too often, the way that like this movie plays out. And you kind of do wonder at the end of the day, like what happens to like to Hal, and what happens to his kid, or maybe like even their kid, like his kids type of stuff. Like is something like this going to keep causing havoc as it did, or well, I mean, yeah, there's just so much in this movie to try to unwind and unpack. Um, but yeah, but this was definitely one to watch for sure.
Yeah, so you guys, I had a different experience. I have a difference of opinion, but what I will do is acknowledge some of the things that Jorge is expounding on. I do think that if you take like something much like a generational curse, right, and look at it on a more literal standpoint, I don't think there's too many movies that try to tackle like what are the ramifications of this generational curse that keeps on building and winding. And I think that because this is something that comes from the mind of Stephen King, it makes sense that he would unearth something like this. Thing I'll also acknowledge in a positive way is the deaths. The deaths are unrelentingly ridiculously crazy. Some of the deaths I just did not. It was almost overkill. By the time we got to the second and the third act, I thought the apocalypse was literally about to happen. That's how many deaths were just going and hitting and I think that to your point, it definitely reminds you of like the old school slasher vibe. I think initially my knee-jerk reaction to it was like, this is way too cringy for me to kind of like accept some of these deaths. But I think what they brought back is one of the, like you said, you brought it up, but that was what I was thinking of, the Final Destination franchise. Final Destination franchise, if you go back to any of those films, there's always this cringy, foolish, insane death. And they keep topping it and topping it. Matter of fact, I think the last one was The Final Destination. That has some of the craziest deaths. Tonally, it was a little bit more darker, but in between those times with those 5 or 6 films, there was absolutely a lot of cringy, dark humor, and like some of the deaths were comical. And I found myself like laughing at some of the way the deaths were coming out, and at the same time, shock value. I was absolutely shocked. The problem is that I just couldn't get behind it. Unfortunately, to me, it was kind of just like, how do I tackle this? So you got the main kids, and believe it or not, this is actually one actor. Christian Coverley plays a role of the young Hal and the young Billy, 2 twins, and they're just their reaction to each other and their relationship is just so weird and cringy and just unbelievable. It services the deaths and it services a lot of way that the plot is going, but it's just not a believable brother relationship. So by the time you get to Theo James when he's a lot older and he's dealing with a lot of the trauma because of this monkey and whatnot, it just makes it feel too unbelievable. And I don't know, I just could not get behind the story. And it's weird because I do think that Theo James was absolutely committed to the role. I just think that by the time we got to the second or third act, it was just comical. Like I don't know, I just couldn't take it seriously, and at the same time, I couldn't really enjoy it. I think the other thing was you got a great actress, and a lot of people think that she got her start in She-Hulk. That's not true. Tatiana Maslany, she was in a great show called Orphan Black, and she is the pioneer of playing multiple different characters. So I thought it was ironic you put her in this, but we just didn't get enough of her. But every scene she was in, it set certain foundations for both of the young kids that worked, but at the same exact time, it just didn't make any sense. Unfortunately, the story just kind of falls through for me. And it's not to say that I was looking for the best of film. I just didn't find a lot of enjoyment out of it. And to be fair, like I've seen some really cringy films lately. I've seen Love Hurts. I've seen, Heart Eyes. But I think that even with both of those, for some strange reason, I had a connection with the characters. No character in this movie that I find any kind of connection with. I think maybe right. Like maybe one character played by Colin O'Brien that's Petey. That's one of the sons. I'll say it that way. I wanted to connect with him, but I couldn't. And it's kind of like when I looked at Heart Eyes, there's a lot of people dying all over the place, but I had a connection with it. So it was kind of like, at least I kept that connection, even if the story was flat or even if the pacing was stupid or the tones all over the place, which this movie has tonally all over the place. Yeah. But I just couldn't find that kind of enjoyment out of it. I could appreciate it from what it came from, like you said, with the slasher films, and I can appreciate it from a Final Destination standpoint with the deaths. Yeah. And I think that they were all like going for it, it was just too over the top and too cringy for me to unfortunately enjoy. But maybe you guys that are slasher films, maybe you guys, it might be your cup of tea, like Jorge's feeling.
Yeah.
But yeah. What's your final thoughts and rating, man?
I think if you want to see just a fun little slasher movie of just seeing like, and I'll use Sam's words of like over the top, like unrealistic killings. This is just a fun little film. If you're just looking for like a little, in a weird way, almost like a cult classic slasher film, like you have it here. It's not a great storyline. I can tell you 10,000 faults, but I can also tell you how much fun you're gonna have just watching some of this and seeing some of the deaths, and just like while you're watching and trying to figure out how are they gonna top this? You know, like what are they gonna throw at you? What's gonna explode in front of you? Like what are they gonna do? So yeah, I think overall, if I had to rate this, I truly enjoyed it. So I will say I'll give this a 7 out of 10. Um, you know, it's definitely not going to. Yeah, you know what? I will give it a 7 out of 10, and I will die on that sword because I enjoyed it. I had fun, and it was just a good time. You know, if you're going in knowing what you're getting, and I think that's the most important part. If you're expecting something more or something deep, then yeah, this won't hit that mark.
Yeah, this is not Heretic, you guys. This is not Long Legs. um, I hate to say this. I was comparing the movie in my mind to two different big genres. One was Final Destination, which I love those films. But unfortunately, when the humor and some of the stuff that we felt like it was playing up the deaths and playing up like in a very comedic way, I was thinking about Scary Movie. And unfortunately, what came to mind was like Scary Movie 3 for whatever reason, not sure why. But for me, I would rest this at a 3 out of 10. I really don't think I would ever watch this again. I can appreciate it. And I'm not trying to say this to tear it apart. I just didn't have a good time with it. Whereas like some of the other cringier, films or slashers lately that I've seen have been very good, or at the very least, I've had some kind of attachment that made me want to go and watch this again. But with this, unfortunately, not so much. And I don't even think we stayed to after credits. A lot of times, like, Ori knows, like, hey, we got to stay to the end of the credits no matter what. I was ready to piece up out of there. But yeah, for me, 3 out of 10. So Scary Movie 3, that is the money. 3 out of 10. It's all good. Again, we that's part of the reason why we love doing these kind of discussion reviews, because you get a difference of opinion. It's never going to be the same for any of us. Even if our rating is close to the same, our reasons may be completely different. Case in point, we just looked at a movie recently. We all had a completely different opinion about it. So but Jorge, thank you for leading the charge on this. Where can everybody find some of your other reviews?
Yeah, no, you can find a lot of my stuff here on TeamJVS, obviously, but you can also find me on Oh So Fast Reviews. I do a lot of reviews there, breaking it down, trying to break different areas. So I do a lot of Spanish reviews there. I've been posting some up here lately. The latest one I posted up was on Captain America, so feel free and check that out. But yeah, you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube as you find everyone else. But yeah, definitely give it a check out, follow it. Let me know what type of stuff you guys want to see, because I think something that that I want to try to do is break into a lot of, everyone always sees all these mainstream films, but when you start seeing all these independent films or smaller films, you really find a lot of good diamonds in the roughs, and that's kind of where I want to focus some of my attention. But no, definitely give it a follow, and go down the crazy journey with me, and let's see where it takes us.
Yes, sir. And you guys, we got a lot of reviews coming your way. If you want to see a lot of our interview coverage, go to our TikTok. We've got a lot of interviews there. We will be posting up some Sundance reviews very soon. I think about like 5 of those. So talking about some great independent films that either one haven't been picked up for distribution, or have just been picked up, and you want to know a little bit about what's coming down the pipeline, horror or not, you'll be able to see it here. So we'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace, people.